Here we are again with Conversations with God with my friend David. It's been a little while again, so this one better be good. You said something to me the other day that was really helpful
Okay.
because I've been suffering greatly and I'm so spiritual. It's surprising that I suffer so much. And so the context of it was I really want to do good in the world. I want to engage in loving service. I feel like this entire life is really my opportunity to release things, all these barriers to love, so that I can engage in loving surface and transform into the image of who I really am, one with the Creator, and letting go of this image that I've tied myself down to, right? This personality that goes through all these struggles. But in the pursuits, I get frustrated. I get frustrated for a lot of different things. I'm trying to love my mom. I feel like she's fairly unlovable. I'm trying to keep my kids safe, and they're doing their best to kill themselves all the time, and all these things that gets me upside down. And uh, you said, thwarted desire leads to anger, and
What to desire?
thwarted,
Okay.
there might be another word for that, but basically, my desire. And I think the interesting thing for me was my desire was well intended, right? I wasn't trying to just get a nice car or whatever. But it's still my thoughts of desire still I'm still walking around angry all the time. Well, a lot more than I preferred. It didn't feel good. So talk about that. How is it easy to get desire, or in my case, it's still desire and it's still my attachment to the thing that I wanted, even though the thing that I wanted was originally intended for good, it still ended up in a poor experience. I didn't like being angry all the time. What was going on there, first of all, and then what's a good way to engage differently to have a better life?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's easy. It's just a solution that that attachments and desires, same thing. When you're thwarted in your attempt to have them, leads to anger. So, it doesn't make it easier. But I mean, it depends on what you want the most, right?
Yeah.
If you really don't want to be angry anymore, well, okay, well then you got to kind of let go of your attachments that you're unable to have. That's making you angry. So I mean, so it's doesn't that doesn't make any easier, but at least if you understand it, at least now you have the possibility of a choice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just because you understand it doesn't make it easy. It's like I think I've talked about. I had two friends that were close friends for about 20 years, and they finally uh, did what I consider crossing the friendship line, where the friendship was. I ended the friendship, and
Mm-hmm.
but it was hard to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
Both those guys probably took 10 years. And it wasn't that I wasn't trying, I was trying, but I wasn't succeeding. I'd still feel the hurt and resentment, even though, you can say, oh, I forgive you. Well, those are just words unless you take it down to a deep enough level that you release it. And
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness is you releasing. So I mean, even though I said, it was just words until I could actually do it. Well, how did I do it? Well, I think it's just for me, I just had to keep working at finding something that worked. And I think it was just a slow, I think as the hurt got less, then it was easier to just understand that they were doing the best they can within their framework of their operating systems,
Hmm.
which is basically the same with everybody. Everybody's just working within their own framework and your own operating systems. And if you have, it's like if you got a bad programming computer, it's just going to keep crashing in relation to that program till you change out the program. You get rid of it, put in a better program, and then now the computer will work better. So it's the same thing as humans. We're basically pieces of the creator, but we've been free to pick up all kinds of interesting operating systems in our journeys in the physical realm. And a lot of those operating systems just crash the computer on a pretty continual basis. So we experience that crash as some sort of form of unhappiness,
Hmm.
right? Anger, resentment, fear, whatever. That's some crash. If you consider when you're operating perfectly, well, then you're aware of your divinity and you're aware of everybody else's divinity and the perfection of all things, and it's easier to be loving and peaceful and forgiving. And when we have trouble with that, it's because we've had inferior operating systems crept into our way of looking at the universe and our way of behaving within that universe.
Would you say operating systems is similar to saying the concepts that
Concepts, yeah, yeah.
that we use?
That's what for humans, your operating system is your concepts. What you believe, what you believe about who you are and what this existence is,
Hmm.
that's your operating system,
Hmm.
you know? So I think Jesus gave some pretty good antiviral antiviral programs to plug into corrupted operating systems to begin to bring them back online, get your system, recover it from some level of being crashed to getting more functional. So forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is huge because I think that's a huge
Hmm.
crasher of your operating system is unforgiveness. And unforgiveness is not just it's not just a one-time thing. It's as many times as you are not forgiving against something that you think was a hurt or offense done. I mean, that
Hmm.
just, it's not like you're not forgiving and boom, that's just one virus in your system. So I don't forgive Joe and I don't forgive Susie and I don't forgive my mom and I don't forgive my third grade teacher, and I don't forgive this political person. And just, you're just piling on the dysfunction. I was talking to a really sweet Christian lady. I consider a sincere Christian trying to operate from the loving system. And I was talking about how it feels when you have a glitch in the system. So to me, it's almost like uh, if you got this hose that's connected to divinity and it's designed for pure water to flow through, and you feel that beautiful, cool flow of water that's just nourishing.
Hmm.
But you decide to start throwing some rocks in the hose, and maybe the first couple ones blow out the other side, and the flow is still perfect. But now they start to get stuck. Now you get a couple rocks stuck in there, and then now you throw some more pebbles and some more rocks, and pretty soon that water is having to move around all these blockages. So it starts reducing the flow of the water, but it starts putting a lot of turbulence in that smooth, perfect flow. And to me, that's how it feels. When you feel like you're letting divine energy flow through you, it's just this beautiful, smooth flow. But then you maybe just walking down the street and you judge this person as like, what, it looks like a dirt bag, right? Okay, now there's some turbulence in the flow.
Hmm.
And then you go home and you see someone on TV is like, oh, that dirt bag, right? More turbulence in the flow. before you know it, you're hardly getting a trickle of that divine love flowing through you. So, for me, a lot of times I feel that as a turbulence in that flow. And once you begin to get that, you say, well, let me try pulling a couple of rocks out. Oh, that's better. All right, let me get some more of those rocks out. So
Mm,
once you understand it, it's like, okay, so as much as I'm attached to this particular resentment, right? We become attached to our resentments.
hmm
It's like I'm going to hold my resentment till you change. You know, it's like, okay, well, good luck with that,
hmm
right? So the more when you begin to give up some of your favorite resentments, not because you're not fond of them, because you get a certain amount of satisfaction from the judgment and the resentment and feeling superior or whatever positive feedback you're getting from your resentment. When you begin to say, yeah, it's kind of nice. I like feeling superior to this person and holding this against them. But that flow of love, that flow of joy from God is better. It's okay. So I'm gonna trade it out. It's pretty good. I'm used to it. It's an old friend. I'm used to this resentment, but yeah, it's not quite as good. Not quite as good as that joy and that peace and that flow, that feeling of love from the Creator moving through you. So that it kind of gets back to my teacher's saying. He said, attachment to God breaks all your other attachments in the world. But none of that doesn't make any sense at all if your attachment to God is attachment to God as a concept, right? So a lot of people, they have a concept of God, and usually people, they're willing to fight over their concepts of God, and we've gone to war and killed each other over our concepts of God.
mm,
He's not talking about your concept of God. It's the actual experience of God. When you begin to feel God as that peace and joy and love, right? The presence of God. Then it goes back to what I was saying. It's like, yeah, I enjoy my resentment towards my mom or my brother or whoever you hold that resentment for, because in some ways it makes you feel superior. But it's not as good as that peace and joy. So yeah, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna forgive her. I'm gonna let go of those resentments because that the increased feeling of peace and joy is better. So one by one, especially as your direct experience of God as that peace and joy and love, and humor and forgiveness, as that gets better and better, you get greedy for more of it. So you become more and more willing to let go of all the other crap, all your attachments, and
hmm
attachment not just to person, places, and things, but attachment to outcomes, attachment
hmm
to biases, attachment to judgments, right? And that's what he was talking about. That as you begin to experience God directly as that peace and joy within you, then the trade becomes easier. It's like, yeah, no, it's not worth it. Not worth it.
Well, and that's what I was experiencing too, just this the subtlety of how those attachments, how subtle those attachments are. And it seems like the more I am practicing non-attachment, letting things go, total acceptance of what comes as God's provision, the representation of God and expression of God and all those things, the subtlety of something that bothers me could actually get it actually gets more and more subtle. The thing that I'll notice,
Yeah,
and what
yeah,
and that thing that we were talking about with when like our friend Robert he goes nice, it was I really like that because it's whatever comes in life
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
is can I have total acceptance? Like, well, can this be a provision that I don't see? Could this be the opportunity for me to forgive? Or maybe there's a blessing I don't see, or maybe maybe this is moving me in a different direction that I don't have the information to understand. I'm going to trust God that this is perfect, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think for me it used to be more intellectual. Like, okay, I want to move towards liberation and all that crap.
Liberation crap journey stuff.
Yeah, yeah, all that. And I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And maybe it was even more than liberation. I mean, yeah, I read things like Yogananda, and some of the spiritual experiences are intoxicating. It's like, oh yeah, I would love to, you know, experience cosmic consciousness, and I'd love to be able to translocate,
Yeah.
but it's just more BS, honestly.
Yeah.
And
What's your
and I
problem? Why can't you do that?
Yeah, right. So I think when you begin to start to experience God directly as more peace in your heart, right? And uh, more joy, less pain, right? Then I think then it just gets a little simpler. It's just oh, it's funny that now I think about my teacher's example. The example is, he goes, it's like a man who falls in a thorn bush, and he's covered in thorns. Well, it picks one strong thorn and begins to pull all the thorns out. And then when he's done pulling all the thorns out, you throw that thorn you've been using as a tool to get the thorns out, you throw that away. And that's where he's talking about your attachment to God. Uh, your attachment to God is like the one strong thorn. You pull all the other thorns out. But it just struck me right now after talking. Those thorns aren't just thorns sticking in you, they're creating pain. Each thorn hurts. And it's one thing when you're just hurting all over, man. You just start pulling the thorns out. But you get to the point where, oh yeah, oh wait, I feel a little something on my back. Okay, I get that. Oh wait, something between my toe. Okay. And I think as you begin to experience more peace and happiness and joy, you become more and more sensitive to smaller and smaller pains. So maybe they're not
Hmm.
even pains, maybe they're just discomforts,
Hmm.
right? And I think, it's almost like if you're in a house and music's on full blast and the kids are making a ton of noise and TV is on full blast and the washing machine is going, it's like this noise. You start to turn things off and you go, oh, yeah, that's better. And then finally, it's pretty quiet, but you hear the washing machine in the garage going, well, you know what, let me just turn that off. You having to listen more and more carefully. You start becoming sensitive where you never would have heard that washing machine when the radio was blaring and everything was so loud. So, I mean, but I think that's what happens is as you begin to, I think when we first start on this path, a lot of times we're just trying to remove the big pains, you know, and then as you get rid of the big pains and the moderate sized pains, and then you get rid of those, and then you notice the small pains, and you get rid of the small pains, and then you notice a little bit of joy. You go, okay, let me start to increase the joy, right? So I think that's kind of what a lot of people experience on the spiritual path. You may start it for whatever reason, but I think it starts to get to the point where you start to feel better and better, and then you start to feel that peace and that joy. So you start moving away from things that are first causing you a lot of pain, then move away from things cause moderate pain, then move away from even small pains. And then when you start to feel the joy, now you start to increase the things that increase your joy and peace. So that's and I think it's easy for us to experience, oh, we're still kind of operating at the same level, unless you maybe look at a diary you had 20 years ago where you're talking about, yeah, I want to kill this guy, and I'm so sad about this, and I cried today, and I felt depressed. It's like, whoa, I forgot how bad it was. because you've been slowly moving and moving and moving
Hmm.
towards you get away from pain and you start moving towards happiness and joy. And I think you just become more and more sensitized. So in a lot of ways, you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm not really making much progress till if you can look back at where you were a few years ago, you go, oh wow, a big difference.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's I think it just starts becoming no longer, I'm not working towards liberation. It's like come on. But I am working towards feeling happier and more peaceful and being more loving and being more forgiving because I don't like the discomfort when I'm not,
Hmm.
and I think I told you I don't usually ask God for God help me to be more patient because then usually he just pours on the things that are aggravating the hell out of you. But I'm doing a new meditation, and I think I made the mistake of asking to be a greater and greater channel of God's blessing in the world. And boy, I had a rough couple of days after that. So I might retract that request and just go back to just trying to just be more loving because it just feels better. It just feels better, and when there's
Hmm.
somebody that comes in just gets under my skin, just try to find a way of looking at it that it's not so bad. Just go back to just the simple pulling the pebbles out of the hose.
I think it's, well, first of all, it's a gift to want the things of God. It's a gift to want to surrender, to surrender, even if I have trouble. All those things, it seems like a gift that we would want to. And once you get there, at least I realize all these things that I desire, it's the end of it isn't what I want, really.
Yeah.
The end of the things that I want, my like what do I want my kids that drive me nuts going to bed? What do I want them to just be sitting there with their hands on their laps, doing nothing, making no noise? Well, I
Yes.
really don't want that, even though I complain that they're violent and tumultuous all the time and you know always yelling and screaming. In reality, I want them to be live boys that are full
Well,
of life.
but you see, that's the process. That's a process you can go through to. It's like me trying to forgive those former friends of mine. I had to find a process that worked, and it took me a long time. So I mean, so for you, same thing. Just trying to hold back your irritation, trying to be calm. Obviously, that's not working. So you have to try different ways of looking at it. So this is a way of looking at it that sounds like it's going to be at least partially effective.
Hmm.
So it may never get to the point where they can be pounding each other's head in the wall and you're fine with it.
Yeah,
But it could be that you handle it in a way that 3 minutes later you're fine again. That you're not
I
just getting so upset that you're mad for hours after they get done breaking stuff in the house. So, I mean, but
yeah.
that's you got to remember there's no accidents, there's no coincidences. You have those boys because that's exactly where you need to work on seeing God, right? Exactly what you need to work on, or you wouldn't have it. There's no. It's not like God. Are you paying attention? Do you see what's going on here? He goes, yeah. You guys all agreed to do this because this is exactly what you needed,
That's right.
right?
Why did you
So
do this to me, God? God's like,
it's
I
like,
just
yeah,
this
I
was
just
this was your
watch
idea.
you. Yeah, just watch you guys put that deal together.
That's right.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, it's just some things you can figure pretty quick. Boom, it's done. Other things are harder, like me forgiving my friends. It was 10 years. Shouldn't freaking take that long, but it did. Now I can truly with a loving heart pray that they have a happy life, that they find their way. I mean, whereas before I could say it, but I didn't feel love emanating from my heart.
Mm.
the compassion, the true compassion. So, so it sometimes it's tough, but I mean, you just got to just keep working on it. And I think it does, it never hurts to ask divinity for
Mhm.
guidance, help me see the way I should be in relation to this that's pleasing to you, right? That can
Yeah.
allow me to love. And
Well, there's a bunch of, I mean, all these little tools that could work. They're myriad, right? There's millions of them.
yeah,
One of the things that's been really helpful for me is slowing down and kind of zooming in when there's a good time. Just enjoying it when I'm having a good time with my kids or my wife, like recognizing it, or even be like, "Oh, I love you guys. This is so great."
gratitude,
And then, yeah, gratitude. But then
gratitude.
when it's a bad time, zooming out, and you can zoom out. I can zoom out to like the whole timeline of my whole life. Like, well, this is not as bad. When I zoom out the whole thing, it's not as
Sure,
bad this
sure,
moment. Or
sure.
even how about the concept of lifetimes, right? Like we mentioned earlier, like, well, maybe we plan this at before we even started this life,
Mhm.
or
For sure.
maybe this is a karmic thing that I wanted to balance because
Well,
in another life,
I wouldn't even think karmic because a lot of times the connotation is I'm being punished,
well,
whereas it's a life, a lesson. If it wasn't a lesson you needed, it wouldn't bother you.
yeah.
If something's bothering you, you haven't learned the lesson yet, and you could say the purpose of all lessons is to bring your consciousness back to pure divinity, and God's never bothered. God
Mhm.
is in bliss constantly. Bob would say I'm in bliss all the time. And he said, I'm telling you guys, this is for you. This is for you. And getting back to techniques, there was one of his famous disciples that was asking him. He goes, well, how do you love
Mhm.
people? He goes, make them your own. He goes, it's like your stupid tape recorder that you love so much. He didn't say stupid, but he said your tape recorder you love so much. He goes, you love it because it's yours. He goes, so just make them yours. But I mean, he was almost like, well, here, well, give this one a try. So it to me illustrates there's all kinds of ways to be able to shift your mind towards love. You just got to find one that works for you. I could
Mhm.
tell you what I do, and you might give it a try, and you go, "That's stupid. That doesn't work at all." I mean,
Mhm.
you got to find what works for you. Like I said, with those two former friends of mine, I was no genius there. 10 years, come on. Why would it take 10 years? Well, it took me 10 years to finally be able to just feel love for them again.
Mhm.
So some you get pretty quick. Sometimes I get it pretty quick, and sometimes not so quick. But
Mhm.
it's worth it because it's moving you towards fully awakening to who you are. And as you fully awake to who you are, it's joyful, it's blissful, right? And
Mhm.
I think really in the final analysis, that's kind of what we all want. We want to
Right.
just feel that not just lack of aggravation and not just peace, but just bliss, just be just joyful and peace and content. And so I think this whole mechanism is to set up to punch our buttons.
Well, it's interesting to me how close the thing that I want is to me because I have these desires that are thwarted or denied in some way that make me angry because I kind of think that I need them to be happy. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Okay, all right.
But how close is happiness or contentment or peace or any of these vibrational states that I'm trying to get to? Well, they're not far away. It's,
Yeah,
the thing that's stopping me from experiencing them is my own judgment, right?
yeah,
This is
yeah.
boulder right in front of my face
Nice.
that I made it.
Good for you,
So
man.
that's not far away. It's right here.
Pretty insightful, but that's it. My teacher would talk about, he goes, the tragedy of the human existence It's like a man standing in a river of the cleanest, purest, sweetest water, dying of thirst. So we are, our true nature is an ocean of bliss.
Mm,
And we're looking everywhere for some happiness and peace when it's right within you. Well,
hmm.
what prevents you from experiencing it? It's all your freaking thoughts and all your programming that's making you miserable.
Yep.
They say
Preaching it.
they say in the deepest part of sleep is like samadhi, where you just you merge back into the source. They go, if you didn't do that, you wouldn't make it through a full life. You'd just die. So it's when we drop all of our BS that you can just feel that deep, deep peace. But I mean, that's easier said than done. So I say, when you get aggravated by something, take a moment and just realize, okay, yeah, and do some sort of analysis. It's like, like you just said, your go through, right? Is that what's making me unhappy, or is my attachment to it? And what if I wasn't attached to it? Could I be at peace with just how things are? And at some level, everything is perfect the way it is. So why am I so unhappy with that? Because I want it to be different. Because I think when it's different, I can be happy.
Hmm.
But like you said, it's your attachment to it being different that's actually preventing you from being happy,
Hmm.
right? So, but I mean, that's some really good introspection, and that's some wisdom that
Yeah.
that you just keep working in that direction, but just then find a way to take it from a concept to application, because it's not going to do you any good as a concept unless you then, in the midst of the turmoil when your boys are fighting, hair flying, things getting knocked over, that you can just kind of smile and go, all right, all right. Well, on one hand, this is annoying as hell. On the other hand, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's nice, as our friend Robert said, nice, nice.
Nice.
I'm being nice. I
You're like,
just
all
broke
right.
the lamp. Nice.
All right. All right.
What do you
That's
mean
right.
by that, Dad? And you just think of Robert, you have a good chuckle. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that felt better. If I feel better, you guys are hurting right now, but
Oh,
that's kind
yeah.
of your problem, right?
That's right. I've been totally using that. It's really
Yeah.
helpful when I remember and I'm not angry.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's just whittling away at some of these are little pebbles in the hose, and some are freaking boulders we jammed in the hose, right? But the bigger it is, the more important it is to start to whittle it down to the best of your ability,
That's
right?
right. All
Yeah.
right, 2 minutes. Anything else you want to leave off that we need that we missed? You've been holding back.
In 2 minutes,
2 minutes, all you got.
nothing comes to mind.
Oh, dang it. I was
Nothing,
hoping it was going to
nothing,
get better.
nothing, nothing that I could cover in 2 minutes. But it's just, listen, life, we're here to do some work, but we're also here to enjoy it too. I mean, God is not such a brutal taskmaster. Like, you got time to lean, you got time to clean, you know, you got you got time to think. You got time to improve yourself. It's not like that. It's like, okay, you worked hard today. Now I'm gonna give you, boys are going to snuggle you, and your wife's going to cuddle you, and you're going to watch, and you're just going to be so grateful for them. He said, okay, it's tomorrow. We'll pick up again.
That's right.
We'll pick. So, but I mean, we should also just be grateful. That's the other thing. Gratitude is a huge spiritual technique. Just practice gratitude. So I think that might be a good thing for everything. When your mind's starting to complain about your boys, you can just, but then take, for every one complaint you come up with three things you're grateful about them, as a kind
Mhm.
of like uh, uh, what's the word? What when you take something that counteracts the poison, as an
Antidote.
antidote. Use three times as many things you're grateful about them as an antidote, and that'll help a lot too. Yeah,
There we go. That
yeah.
was a good one.
There you go. Not bad. All right,
All right.
all
Well,
right,
thank
brother.
you very much. Love you.
Love you too, brother. Take care.